And welcome to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Today is Friday, the 18th of November 2022, and I'm sure a lot of people, are looking forward to an amazing weekend. But even as we look forward to an amazing weekend, on the countdown to the elections, we have 98 days to the presidential and the federal elections. So that's another thing for us to all look forward to. How prepared are you, or how prepared, or what's your preparation towards the elections? I hope you have gotten your PVC, especially if you have registered. I hope you're also working towards, ensuring that we all, achieve the Nigeria of our dreams. We're all here working towards ensuring that something different happens for the country. All fighting for the state of the nation. We're all fighting for the health of the nation. We're all fighting for the soul of the country, and I know that we are all looking forward to better days ahead. So what are your plans for the 2023 elections? I hope we are not going to sit at home and just play football. I know that happens a whole lot. I hope we're not going to sit at home and just play football and watch movies and whatnot. Please march out there, especially if you have your PVCs. Let's not have a situation where we have 5 registered voters and then at the end of the day we are counting just 2 voters. It's a very unfortunate situation, that one. All right, so if you have registered for your voters card and you have received it or you have collected it, please do well to go out there. You don't go through the stress, and don't just have your voters card as a means of identification. That's one thing I've noticed. If you ask someone, I ask someone, I say, "Oh, you have a voters card? That's amazing." Say, "Oh yeah, well I needed an ID card to open an account," and that's just it's unsettled me a little bit. All right, so just you have your voters card. Use it for what it's meant to be used for, aside being an identification card. Yes, it's an identification card, but then use it also to do your voting. All right, and also have you gone through the voters register? Have you gone through it? Is there something that you observed? Is there something that you've seen that is an anomaly? I will bring it to the attention of the authorities. INEC is doing everything that they can to sanitize the voter register. This is very, very important, okay? We all need to put hands together and do what is right. And vote your conscience, vote your choice. You know what is obtainable out there. So make your decision independently, okay? Make your decision independently. My name still remains Omobola Sandra, and yes, you are on to Trends in the Papers right here on Mainland 98.3 FM, and we're going to be looking through the trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. We have our papers here with us, and interestingly today, I know one of our listeners sent a message that why do we not go through, or why do we not use or go through the front page of the Sun newspaper, Daily Sun. Well, interestingly, we have Daily Sun today. So we have Daily Sun newspaper, we have The Guardian, we have Vanguard, and The Nation newspaper. So these are the papers that we're going to be going through or looking through this morning on the front pages of these papers. So let's get straight to it, shall we? Fuhad Sahid should be joining in via the phone line any moment from now. But in the meantime, let's start. Let's just get straight to it. We have the Guardian newspaper here with us. Okay, we have the Guardian newspaper here with us, and let's just see what is the major headline coming from the Guardian newspaper. That is, I think I got it. All right, that is 133 million Nigerians. 133 million Nigerians remain poor despite sharing $700 million Abacha loot. That is the major headline on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. And the riders to that, 25.5 million Nigerians face acute food nutrition insecurity in 2023. Also, UNICEF, over 14 million children in Nigeria face acute malnutrition. PDP carpets APC over NBS report says majority of Nigerians excluded from intervention schemes. So what this report is telling us is this morning is that the federal government yesterday admitted to Nigeria's status as the poverty capital of the world when it disclosed that 133 million of its citizens are currently living in poverty. Okay, That is quite a staggering figure there. If you put it against, the projected amount of citizens that we have, or the projected population that we have in Nigeria. Good morning, Fuhad. Thank you for joining in. Hello.
Hello, yes, I'm with you, Sandra. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Thank you very much for joining in. All right, so we were just reading the major headline from the Guardian newspaper, and that is as regards the admittance of the federal government to Nigeria's status as the poverty capital of the world. When they discussed that about 133 million Nigerians are currently living in poverty, and that's a little over 63% of our population. And that's according to a survey conducted by NBS, that's the National Bureau of Statistics, also National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office, United Nations Development Program, United Nations Children's Fund, and the Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative. Okay, and the interesting thing for it is that the last time this kind of survey was done, 2016 or thereabout, Nigeria was also ranked as the poverty capital of the world. It's at this time now, 4 in every 10 Nigerians live below the line of poverty. That's about $1 per day. That's very unfortunate. I don't know, but so it just means that we're not advancing. There's no progress, or what exactly, or is it that we're just adding to the population, or is it that there's no progress in itself?
Sandra, you can't have this level of misgovernance. You can't have this level of corruption. I'm not talking about the last 7 years. I would want to say I'll take it from the Babangida era, down to what we have now. I told you the last time that it was the Babangida government that institutionalized corruption in this country. It was a period where other countries of the world that were considered underdeveloped got it right. It was a period that countries regarded as the Asian tigers, the 5 of them, were able to move from underdeveloped to developing and now a developed nation. That was a period where we squandered the Gulf windfall and a lot of the monies that would have turned the lives of Nigerians around. And then unfortunately, Babangida left and Abacha just came to mess everything up. In 1999, there was an opportunity for redemption for the country. I always say, former President Olusegun Obasanjo is the most blessed Nigerian. He's the most lucky man to turn these things around for the country. He came in 1999, as of the grace of God. And one was expecting that, as a former head of state, who was almost going to be killed by the Abacha junta, and then was fed by God, that he was going to come and do things for Nigeria between 1999 and 2007, sorry. But unfortunately, he came into power and he was trying to entrench himself as an emperor. He didn't work for the progress of the country. Instead, he was trying to build himself as an emperor. And eventually, it turned out to be a complete failure. It was the time that this set of politicians were not too, they didn't understand the situation of governance this much. They weren't this corrupt. They didn't understand the dynamics of politics this much at that time. So one would have thought that would have created an institution that would whip them towards creating a country of our desire. And that was why at almost 8 years, you get a third term.
But Fuhad, if
just a minute, I'm trying to tie things together.
Okay, thank you. Because I wanted to say, if we are going that way back, I mean, is it that along the line there was no way to get us out of that mess? Is it that
I just mentioned it as in 1999, God gave us an opportunity to redeem ourselves, to turn things around, to create a different story, but we didn't do that. For 8 years, there was a bit of, light at the end of the tunnel, but that was the period we would have created strong institutions, would have created a strong structure. But like I said, you had a president then who was trying to build more of an empire for himself. He thought, here we are. Unfortunately, we are in a situation where we need to now deal with these things. He left there. He brought in a Yaradua who was completely, his health wasn't completely good. He left, and then we had a Jonathan who obviously wasn't prepared for governance. We saw what happened. We transited from hoping that things will change. We got the same mantra, and here we are, 7 years down the line, the same old story. The poverty level has continued to increase, and like I said, you cannot have this level of misgovernance, this level of corruption, this set of politicians who have no direction, no ideology, no philosophy for changing things around, and you have that kind of figure. Luckily, this is data from the MBS. It's our own, so it's not like a foreign induced data that we like to question. Sandra, we have an opportunity again in 2023, and like I always say, Nigeria hangs by the cliff. If we don't get it right this time, I don't know, we may just tilt off.
All right. Well, there's a whole lot of statements or reactions or responses to that particular report, but we can get more details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Of course, PDP used the opportunity to also respond, also use that opportunity to carpet the APC, as the ruling party, saying majority of Nigerians are excluded from intervention schemes. But more details on page 6 of the Guardian.
APC is a case of the pot calling the kettle black. They are one and the same. They've ruled in both parties, and of course, so they should bear responsibility for the level we found ourselves and the level of poverty in the country. So I can't exempt either of the parties. Just a case of pot calling the kettle black.
All right, then. Moving on now, still on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. On the road to Qatar 2022 World Cup without Nigeria. Read the big story on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian. We also have here, US backs INEC on beavers, threatens visa ban on election riggers. Is this a welcome development? Is this something that would put our politicians or our officials, government officials, on their toes as regards ensuring that they do the right thing by INEC?
Sandra, it's always shameful to see countries like the US, the United Kingdom, and this other Western world, come to tell us how to behave properly. It's shameful that they are the ones that will now tell us to
sit right, more
patriotic in the things we do. And look at what even they try to threaten our politicians with. That's to tell you, that's to tell you the value they place on them, as they junket the world thinking that they have all the money they stole. The US put that we're going to ban you from coming to our country because they know they've not done their country well. You understand what I'm saying? It's embarrassing to say we'll ban you from coming to our country.
Yeah. If you don't do well in your own country, you don't come to our own country and come out.
visa. Because they know that they messed up their own, so they are desperate to come to their own country. People are built. Are you going to tell me that? I'm talking about indigenous of Dubai now. Somebody will tell them not to come to their country when they built their own country. If you understand what I'm saying. So it's the situation we found ourselves. So it's funny thing that almost at every election cycle, you have the US making that same statement, saying that look, we're going to ban you guys if you don't behave properly. We're going to ban you, and it's always this visa ban thing. So it's unfortunate. It's good that if they want to ban them, let them ban those of them that caused trouble during the elections. But like I see, it's just completely embarrassing that the so-called giants of Africa. We are in a situation where our leaders will be told that we're going to ban you if you don't do the right thing.
Well, more details of that one on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have Naira redesign, more governors under scrutiny, says EFCC. Macban anxious over funds stuck in forests. So what we have is that the chairman of EFCC, Abdulrasheed Bawa, disclosed that the number of governors being monitored by the Commission for Alleged Money Laundering has increased beyond the 3 it earlier mentioned. And this was after a meeting that he had with the president. So although he declined giving the specific number or the specific figure, saying he doesn't want to be misquoted, but then he said that the commission was keeping an eye on 3 governors before over alleged money laundering, following the federal government's plan to redesign and replace some Naira denominations. So what this means is that some people out there rather than going into the bank and depositing, these funds, there are other ways that which you can put the money back into the system via money laundering. We have, either by layering, integration, or placement. So it depends on however it is that they want to do it. But now what it means that they are monitoring every move now. The intervention there. Let me come to MACBA now. Okay. That's Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, Southeast Zone, appealing to the central bank to extend the deadline for circulation of the redesign notes for 3 months. Why are we extending? Do you think it should be extended?
I
think there are funds that are stuck in the forest.
I don't even understand. That was why when I said this thing about redesigning and people were saying, oh, what kind of policies? I said, look, something good will come out of this thing, definitely. I'm sure something good will come out. I will be waiting to see whether there will be an extension because of Miyetti Allah. Because one would expect that, look, even if you trade in cattle and breed cattle and all of that, the banking system is going to a point where it's available to all. Remember that Sheikh Gumi was one of the first people that also came out to say, oh, the policy, a lot of people are still transacting in cash, and you ask yourself, who exactly are people carrying cash around? You want to expect that even if you carry cash around, it should not be in millions. Let's say you even try to transact in cash, it shouldn't be in millions. So if Miyetti Allah is saying that some of their funds are still trapped in the bush, are they the bandits that we are talking about?
So that I don't want you to be misquoted, Fuad, but what they're saying that they have members who live predominantly in the forest, to bring out their savings and to change them, to take them time to come out of the forest and go to the outside world where there are banks to go and
how huge are the funds? It would be nice to know how huge the funds
and
are.
Why it will take them 3 months to
come out of the bush.
Come out of the bush
to come and change it
to the banks. Exactly. and another thing is saying that
the problem is that because you're on radio, there are some things you don't want to say.
And yes, exactly. That's why and another thing is the fact that
it was a question I asked, so that you don't misquote. I'm just asking a question.
It's saying that many of the herders, they don't have bank accounts, so they have to now open bank accounts and put the herding community.
What is this, Sandra?
Is 18th November.
Okay, so we have a January 15 deadline. So how many days do we have? We have close to 2 months, right? What do you think? That's enough for them to come out and change their bank.
It's less than. It shouldn't take more. There are a lot of
Like within a month, they should be able to sort that out.
There are a lot of months. There are a lot of banks that have
to bring their money out, open accounts, change it, and in the bank.
There are a lot of banks that have first tier banking, meaning that you don't need so much documentation to open an account. But it now depends on the volume of the funds that they are going to pay.
It would have been nice if Miyetti can give us an idea of the amount that are in the push with these herders, their members, so that we know how to talk about this particular issue. The fact that it's going to take 3 months, it would be nice to have a figure. Give us an idea of the figure that is in the bush with the herders.
All right, well, more details on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, we also have Opeyemi Akinode joining us in the studio. Good morning, Opeyemi.
Good morning, Sandra. Now,
good morning, Fuad.
Said Fuad is speaking like someone that is talking to us at Anthony. Before he's been speaking like someone that is talking for my
voice have changed. All right, let's move on. We also have here relief as Lagos Airport restores runway lights 14 years after. Okay, so what we have, that's on page 20 of the Guardian newspaper, and what we have is that airlines laud return of 24-hour services at MMA. In 20 years, I never landed on runway late at night, it says Fan MD. So local airlines can now heave a sigh of relief as the federal government finally restores airfield lighting on the runway 18L of the Murtala Mohammed Airport. That place has been in blackout in the last 14 years. and has been an operational nightmare for night operations. That's scary. How have they been landing? How have they been taking off at night?
Are you talking to me, Sandra?
What?
No, Fuad, it's not you.
No,
it's not you.
I'm asking because I know Fuad knows somebody that landed at night.
Where you're coming from? Where you're coming from? I know it's going to be difficult to understand.
Allow me to go into this in Sandra.
No, please don't. That's why I said she wasn't talking to you. That's why I said she wasn't talking to you.
I know, but yes,
Sandra. Sandra, in the year of the Lord 2022, we see our fans in our international airport, fan blowing. The ACs are not working. The elevators are not working. You have everywhere patterned. The entire place was smelling.
It's okay. Because
Sandra,
I know the experience is still fresh. It's alright. It's okay.
Talk about this. You don't understand. Fan in the year 2022. Fan. You know the normal fan making noise. The airport fan. It's
okay. All right, because I know the experience is still very fresh in your memory. So
no, it's all you need to ask me. Okay, let me just keep quiet.
Okay, so but what they've been doing is that at nightfall, that's from 6 p.m., the alternative was all Lagos-bound domestic carriers divert to the international section 18R.
They use bus to take.
Then they now use bus to take them to.
So you have to wait for another 30-40 minutes for your luggages to arrive. Then you start looking for your luggage. So most time they tell you from the international airport where you landed to the local where bus brought you, they didn't pack all the luggage. So you have to keep waiting for. I mean, it's something that happens every time.
And that's what's been happening for 14 years.
Late flights are a little cheaper. So for people that use route, some of us always want to look for the evening flight so that besides you come into Lagos and the traffic is a little off. I mean, you come to Lagos around 9, for instance. So they will drop you at the international airport, then they'll use the airline bus or the airport buses, the shuttle to bring you to the local airport. Then you come and pick your luggage. So you can as well tell people, I just got back. You know.
That's unfortunate. For 14 years that has been happening.
And Sandra, we are so much invested in having a national carrier without looking at, even if you're talking
fixing
about
the basic things at the airport.
Exactly, fixing the basic things that a foreigner would foresee and have that impression about your country.
Culture shock.
You want to. You understand what I'm saying? Even when you now leave the airport, look at the ambience, the environment. The street lights are not lit. The entire area is bushy. The medians, the walkways, everything is, potholes everywhere, just as you are living. And those are the first things a foreigner sees and creates an impression about your country.
Fuad, just give me a minute. Just this morning when I was coming to the office, a friend of mine, Pooja, I think he's going to cover the Qatar World Cup. So, of course, I think he flew out yesterday night. And he made a tweet that all of the airport stewards, they've collected all the naira with him. So somebody made a tweet that the way they used to ask, Madam, your perfume is nice. Madam, your bag is fine. Let me keep this one. Oga, what do you want to go and do with naira in London? Oga, welcome. You and this your shoe. Oga, the Ghana must go inside there is cheaper than the one on. So the person was listing how most of the stewards at the airport will tax you, and then they make it look like, oh, Oga, you're not even. Yes, you make it look like if you don't. Right. I remember something that happened, Sandra. I went to use the lobby at the airport one day.
It's okay. The point is there's majoring on the minor and minoring on the major.
I'm trying to understand why we're celebrating restoring the lights.
That's what I'm not celebrating. I'm more shocked. I'm standing. I'm like, what is happening?
That's ridiculous ourselves, because a lot of people didn't even know that the night tracks don't have.
We're not even working because they found an alternative. Well, more details on page 20 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, NPA denies collecting jetty charges in dollars, and that is on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Very quickly, I'll just quickly give some sort of background to that. Nigerian Ports Authority has denied collecting jetty charges in dollars, explaining that the services rendered operators are entirely billed in naira. And this clarification had to come following claims by oil marketers that the authority and NIMASA, Nigerian Maritime Yes, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency were yet to comply with federal government's directive on naira transactions at the port, and the accuser said that they have been constrained to import products due to alleged dollarization of operations and critical activities by the two government agencies. It's a long read, but you can get more details on page 7. And MPA has denied that particular one. Whether or not there's definitely going to be a lot of back and forth between MPA and NIMASA, but let's move. More details on page 7. We also have here UTM Offshore JC others sign agreements for Nigeria's first FLNG facility. Facility. Just a quick one, and that is floating liquefied natural gas, and that's on page 7 also of The Guardian. All right, moving on very, very quickly. We also let's check what's trending from Daily Sun. You're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. Daily Sun, the major headline: looted funds. We've placed many governors on watch list, says EFCC chairman, and the rider to that is advises politicians to focus on issues, avoid using illicit funds for campaigns. All right, we've already touched this story from The Guardian, where EFCC said that due to the naira redesign and the fact that people have to pay in cash that is with them, they have put some governors on watch list because they believe that some governors are planning on laundering some money, okay, pushing the funds back into the system, but not via the bank. And there's so many ways with which you can do that. There's placement method, integration, and layering, whatever it is that you want to do. But so now, aside from the 3 governors earlier mentioned, they also have some other governors that they've added now that are going to monitor how they would bring the money back.
If they won't tell us the governors, they should not tell us they are monitoring them. As long as they want to keep the operation, if they want to keep the operation secret, they should just keep the operation secrets. I mean, sometimes we put so much information at the public space, especially for the anti-corruption agencies that we have in this country. You say you arrested over 600 BDC operators that are operating illegally. Release their names. A lot of people will still. I mean, and we know how to pull people out of the system and illegally find a way to put them back into the system because we fail to review their identity. Governors are public servants. They are public service holders. So people should know which of the governors is doing what. But if they don't want to tell us, they should get the job done and just make sure the system is clean.
More details on page 6 of Daily Sun. Also have the Daily Sun also has the Mieti Allah story. You can get that on page 3 of Daily Sun. We also have IGP accuses some governors of sponsoring political violence, and that's a very, very important one. If they have accused some governors, do they have the names of said governors? Do they know said governors that are doing these things? Have they done their investigations? Have they completed their investigations to have the names or identities of the governors that are sponsoring political violence? Well, more details of that on page 3 of the Daily Sun. All right, moving on now. I also have here Wike promises Obi logistics support during Labour campaign in Rivers. So Peter Obi, the Labour Party presidential candidate, was in Rivers State yesterday to commission some projects in the state, as invited, of course, by the Rivers State governor. And now the G5 has said they've not endorsed anyone, or they've not talked about endorsing any presidential candidates so far. And I don't want to preempt their thoughts. I don't want to put words in their mouth. But as we all know, that Wike is like some sort of de facto leader of the G5 with his coziness, with Peter Obi yesterday. Is there any indication that there might be some sort of endorsements coming in?
I told you that the 2015 script had been playing out for a couple of months now. We had some disgruntled PDP governors that left in 2014, and they started off with a new PDP, 5 of them, and then they eventually metamorphosed into their own faction. Then they form alliance with the then AC and CPC and the faction of ABGA as well. So the same script is almost playing out this time around against Sandra. The most unfortunate thing yesterday was the fact that Peter Obi went to Rivers State and he was campaigning for the gubernatorial candidate of the PDP when Labour Party has a gubernatorial candidate in Rivers State. And there's been a lot of talk. Beatrice Itodo, that's the Rivers Labour Party governorship candidate, came out yesterday, was raging that she was going to mobilize Labour Party members against Peter Obi. By the way, the reception Peter Obi got in Port Harcourt yesterday was scary, and it was not even a rally for him. It was just welcome to Port Harcourt, obedient people on the street waiting for you. So there's a lot of politicking going on. I didn't say politicking.
I get that. I heard you loud and clear. So Fuad, do you see any funny business or politicking? Do you see any funny business coming from this marriage of some sorts?
Coming from Wike
and Peter Obi,
G5.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep you a little bit of space. So yesterday, Obi was at Rivers State, okay, to commission some projects, and there was some sort of declaration of support or whatnot for the Labour Party presidential ticket, candidates on the part of Wike. Do you understand? And so far the G5 they've not endorsed anyone. They've not said, oh, we're going to be voting for anyone, we're supporting anyone. All right, but with Wike's plenty interesting actions in recent times, is there any way that there could be some sort of results from this alliance, this Wike Obi alliance?
Well, I don't see any alliance there.
Okay.
I just see a Wike again still playing the same politics he has been playing for some time now, which is to do everything to spite Atiku and the PDP. That's what he's simply doing. He's not President Muhammadu Buhari to commission some projects according to him. Some other people will also commission.
Oshomole was there 2 days ago.
Recently.
And I'm sure when Oshomole comes and Bajabamila comes, he might also give them some. He might also show them some support, or even
he did. He actually apologized to Oshomole that he worked against him in Edo State. He came to campaign against the PDP. So now that is 1-1.
So. If you put all of that together, how do you want to take a Wike seriously now? I just see him playing politics to look for every opportunity to spite Atiku and the PDP, and that's what he's doing. What that will give him in 2023, we'll wait and see.
All right, more details of that on page 6 of page 8 actually of Daily Sun newspaper. All right, we also have PDP holds Umbrella Day in Lagos for Atiku Okowa. Yes, that happened yesterday, and we saw the troops even outside our office. And you can get more details of that on page 26 of Daily Sun. We also have here Tinubu unfolds economic plan for Southeast, pledges industrial boom in the zone, and the riders to that to open ports outside Lagos. He is the man Nigeria needs, says Kalu. And there's more details of that on page 26 and 27 of Daily Sun. So the APC campaign train moved to Imo State yesterday. All right, and so that's where the APC presidential candidate gave his speech. More details on pages 26 and 27 of Daily Sun. And finally, INEC to prosecute core members, others involved in election fraud. That is on page 6 of Daily Sun newspaper. And that's it. We're moving on now straight to the Nation newspaper, and the major headline coming from the Nation newspaper: security chiefs, Wike attacks Atiku for criticizing Buhari. And the riders to that: Rivers governor vows to remain in PDP, fights vultures scavengers. And riders that Obi outlines plans. All right, so there's a quote here I'm going to read. Open quote: some people now are criticizing Buhari for appointing all the service chiefs from the north. Why did they not challenge Buhari since election has come and now they're talking? All right, and that is a end of quote. Sorry, and that is a jab. Sorry, not jab. Okay, that's a statement from
A punch.
yeah, that's a statement from Nyesom Wike, the Rivers State governor, and trying to talk to a certain son of man. All right, and he accused the presidential candidate of the PDP of hypocrisy with that particular statement, and he's according to Wike, is saying that the presidential candidate of PDP has no moral basis to criticize President Buhari. That's on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Anyways, moving on now, we also have Nigeria faces debt services challenges. And what we have is dwindling revenue and dependence borrowing will make debt servicing difficult for the federal government. And this warning is coming from the Debt Management Office. I think this is anticipated. The fact that you at the moment you have little or no revenue generator, and then you're also borrowing all of the time, it will be difficult for you to pay backlog of loans. I mean, don't you think this was anticipated, Fuad?
Hello. Yeah. Well, sorry, Sandra. I just missed out a bit. I was trying to sort out something. Sorry.
All right. Well,
Well, I think a lot of us need to know at this point that several countries around the world have what they are dealing with as well. So if we've, borrowed money to the point that we can't even approach most of these, organizations, the IMF, the World Bank, we can't. I mean, we are no longer credit worthy. That's why we have to go to countries like China. We have to go to, development banks around the world just to look for cheap loans, especially the ones that is coming from China now. Most of the loans in China are really interest free. They were not entirely interest free, but the interest rate is not as you would get if you approach maybe money lending agents, organizations, for instance. So I'm trying to understand it. Recall that under the presidency of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, the Paris debt relief came in really handy, because if you look at how much we are spending from the budget to service our debts, we've not started paying back the debt. We're just servicing this debt. So when Atiku, I told her I've been picking ones or twos from most of these politicians' campaign, even outside what they have in their blueprints, Atiku's new covenant. But I've listened to him talk a couple of times about approaching organizations for, debt relief and all of that. See, every country in the world, all of these organizations are being funded by the countries that have money. But guess what? The United States is the most indebted country in the world right now. And so if they're the one financing most of these organizations, then you know that everybody needs money. If I borrow you money, you refuse to develop infrastructures that will pay back the loan, and then you come back to me again,
my money.
You have to pay me back. Then you approach me that, please forgive me of the money you borrowed. I can't. It's difficult. We understand that, yes, supposedly developing countries or third world countries often approach most of these big countries organizations to say, you know what, relieve of our debt, let us just pay the service charge. If you use the money for the right thing, you wouldn't even approach them to forgive you of the debt in the first place, because you would find what you used to pay the loans that you got. All
right, so basically what the DMO office is saying is that international markets, interest on borrowings at domestic and international capital markets have made loans more expensive to service, and with the dwindling revenue that we have in this country and the fact that we are heavily dependent on borrowing as a country, it's difficult for us to service the loans that we already have out there. And that is what the DMO is saying, Fuad.
Okay, well, say one word, Nigeria is bankrupt. That's simple as that.
It's okay. More details.
We're not credit worthy now.
Yes.
If your revenue is not enough to service your debt, so how much do you even? What would you not even use to finance your budget or finance capital project, the current expenditure? It means you're going to borrow more. Revenue is dwindling, and so it's as simple as that. So all of the managers of the country from that period to now should ask themselves, how did we get to a point where Nigeria is now bankrupt? We are now a beggar nation. We keep begging people, beg countries everywhere. That we are looking for loans everywhere. And by having so, we now borrow the loans, we steal it, through all manner of things, and then we go back to do what? Forgive up our debt. So what kind of nation is that? An oil-producing nation, no? An oil-producing nation.
It's unfortunate, eh? All right, so more details on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. We also have Oyo ex-NURTW leader auxiliary arraigned for vandalizing Tinubu's and others' billboards. That's on page 2 of the Nation. We also have here First Lady, governors' wives rally for Tinubu Shetima in Ilorin. All right, and that's on page 4. Now, above the masthead of the nation, IGP blames violence tension on governors. That's on page 3. Tinubu to make Southeast industrial hub. That's on page 4 of the nation. And Zenith Tech Fair 2.0 attracts global brand leaders. That's on page 5. And finally, from the Nation newspaper, why we dropped 20 billion naira case against government. And that's coming from Kanu's lawyer. So Nnamdi Kanu had filed a motion, a 20 billion naira motion as regards how it was taken, or how it was picked up, or how it was brought back, or how it was whisked back.
That's always been the what's it called, the basis of his defense.
Yes,
the government. I think that's even why the court has ruled that it needs to be returned, and so the way it was brought in and all of that. What we call rendition.
Yes,
rendition, which is against the international law and things guiding the issue of how do I even call it now?
Extradition.
What's this word now? Extradition. Yes, the laws of extradition, international laws on extradition. You don't bring people in like that. So it has always been the basis of his argument and defense against the government. So.
Yeah, but as it is now, they have withdrawn that 20 billion naira case for strategic reasons, and they sought a declaration of his arrest and subsequent for strategic reasons. So what they're saying now is that they have decided to discontinue the case. I'm trying to get what the strategic reasons were.
Well, let us leave the reasons as strategic reasons.
And let's leave it at that.
When your liberty has been taken away from you, and then every single thing you do is being scrutinized, you are being monitored, is being kept under house arrest, control the people that comes to visit and all of that. Whatever they mean by on technical grounds, anything that happens, it's part of it, Sandra. If it is on technical ground, if it was on strategic grounds. Baba wants out. Baba just wants his freedom back.
Yep. All right, so you're still on to Mainland 98.3 FM and its trends in the papers. And now we're going to be going through we're going through the last paper that we have for this morning. Okay, and that is Vanguard newspaper. Going through the trending stories on the front pages of our papers. All right, Vanguard, the major headline: 133 million Nigerians poor, says NBS. And the riders to that: North 85 million, South 47 million, 66.5 million children are poor. Sokoto State tops with 91% poverty rate. Ondo State least,
and that's the seat of the caliphate. It's okay.
It's okay. Yes. Ondo State least poor with 27%. Okay, so Okoyemi owes me some cash right now. Federal government will use report to allocate resources. That's coming from the president, saying that this will be like some sort of indices on how they would now start allocating funds. And now we also have.
So when they use that to allocate funds, then the politicians will still steal the funds and nothing will change.
And people will still be poor.
What's the basis of using this to allocate? The thing is that you need to even ask yourself what you've allocated so far, what has been done with it. Again, we may see a situation where people will now tell you that, this report is not doctored. In a way to now justify allocation of resources. So to say, you are going to allocate more resources to poorer parts of the country. But the question is, the poorer part of the country, what are exactly having to do with money is getting all this while? So I don't see it as a basis for allocating more funds to the poorer parts of the country. Should be more about those people, the politicians in those areas, public servants in those areas, doing the needful and getting more responsible with public funds.
All right. Well, just as you have said. All right, more details of that on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. Now we also have here, still on the front page of Vanguard, Nigeria to produce additional 255,000 BDP as SNEPCO completes maintenance, and that is on page 12 of Vanguard newspaper. Just a quick background to that particular story. So what we have is Nigeria is set to produce additional 255,000 barrels per day as Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company Limited, SNEPCO, has completed the 2022 turnaround maintenance of the Bonga floating production storage and offloading. The FPSO was shut down in October due to statutory inspections, recertifications, and other critical asset integrity restoration activities. All right, so that is on page 12 of Vanguard newspaper, and we also have here. Let's see what else we have here that is new, completely new. 2023 INEC staff registered on underaged voters. We've been seeing pictures in recent times of to put some sort of facts to that one. We also have here insecurity, Nigerians suffering, weeping, wailing, mourning, and that's coming from Monguno. Is that not Babagana Monguno? It's not a service chief. So is he agreeing to the fact that we have problems?
I mean, the same way I've always told people, you don't need the opposition to tell you what is wrong with this country. If you approach the market and you see that you cannot buy basic commodities with what you earn, that the low purchasing power of the naira, you understand how insecure the people are in this country, and you understand the fact that after almost 9 months strike, ASU members are still coming out to say they want to protest, and the government is insisting that there's no going back on the no pay. So you look at how everything is, then you're asking yourself, anybody that is in the system, you feel the heat one way or the other. So I don't know if Mugono is out of the system, but then being service chief, being whatever it is you are, does not. I mean, even governors have come out to admit that the things are really tough. I mean, even the president of the nation had come out to say severally that they know they are not at the level they have. The Minister of Information and Culture has said that the country is more secure now and safer than it was in 2015. And because maybe they have additional convoys now that they move with. Well, the NSA, that's the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Monguno, retired, is pleading with reps for more support to defeat terrorism, saying Buhari's desire is to hand over a safer Nigeria to successor, and he has noted the current wave of insecurity in global climate. And the reps are also coming in saying we must secure Nigeria during and after the 2023 elections, and that is on page 7 of. Hello, Fuad.
I'm with you, Sandra. Okay. I'm looking at where Babagana Monguno is coming from, but he just wants to be part of us on the end of everyday wailing and questioning the performance of this government. The funny thing is, as a part of this government, is part of the ruling class. He's been there for some time, and so he's probably just telling us what we already know. And then, of course, assuring us that they're going to fight terrorism and all of that.
All right.
I think it's almost too late for this government to promise us anything and for us to take it seriously. So we'll wait what happens in the next government.
Okay. And finally, from Vanguard newspaper, we have here, Soludo, other critics from your state are envious. Wike, Labour Party tells Obi. Okay, so what we have is that the governor of Rivers State, that's still a continuation of that other story, is the fact that the Labour Party in the South, the governor of Rivers State, the Labour Party in the Southeast, and a former presidential aspirant, that's Charles Udiagaraya, urged the presidential candidate of the Labour Party to ignore envious critics, especially those from his home state of Anambra. And
they're talking about Soludo.
That's of course, that's Soludo, and his many statements. All right, and that is the major that's another major headline coming from Vanguard newspaper, and that's all. That's all the trending stories that we have across the papers that we treated this morning. And we'll take a short break now, and then when we come back, we'll be back by 8:40. Yes, we'll be back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus, where we'll pick one or two of the trending stories and we'll open up the phone line for you to be a part of the show. Opoyemi Akinde is here in the studio. Fuhad is with us via the phone line, and my name still remains Omobola Sandra. And you are currently listening to Mainland 98.3 FM, and we are the sound of Lagos. Interesting stories that we treated this morning, and I'm sure we all can't wait to put one or two into the conversation. But when we come